Well, each week at this time, it's always my pleasure to check in and find out what's going on in Maryland, Whitehall, Maryland. To be real precise, we have Ben Hushon on the line from Whitehall, Maryland. He is with The Mill, and he joins us right now. Ben, let's talk about what's going on in your neighborhood right now. Ag-wise, I assume the harvest is probably coming down the home stretch here. What are they working on now?
Good morning, Marlin. It has been absolutely amazing weather, so pretty much everybody that has a combine is into soybeans, double crop soybeans pretty much at this point. I tell you what, in the east, this doesn't happen very often. 8:30 this morning, met a grower as I was going in his driveway. He said, we're headed to the field. We've already got a combine starting to run soybeans. That's when you know the weather is good, when you can be out there pretty early in the morning working on soybeans.
Now, a lot of folks around the country would say that it seems kind of late for soybeans. Is that the traditional time to cut soybeans there? Are these double crop soybeans, or what is the situation there?
Good question, Marlon. These are double crop soybeans, and in some cases, I felt a little better this morning, received a call from our friends at Nagel's down in Talbot County, Eastern Shore, Maryland, where normally they would be wrapped up. They were saying the same thing, double crop or really late planted full season beans that were delayed. So pretty much into the double crop. And yes, we are pretty much running a couple weeks behind where we normally would be for sure.
All right, I understand you're also working on your own test plot that you have in that local area there. What kinds of stuff are you working on that?
Well, we planted the crop showcase back in June, what we call crop showcase fertility test plots. And Todd Rehmeyer is down literally right now helping harvest that. We planted with USDA. We did some cover crop plots tracking where the water and nitrogen are moving. And, of course, today all we're doing is taking the yield off cover crop, comparing cover versus no cover. We also, a little later on this morning, will get into our where we use the nitrogen model to help us decide how much nitrogen to put on for split application, working through the SUSTAIN program. I think the one that the people in the community have been asking for the most is we did pop-up fertilizer from some competitors versus our in-furrow fertility with AGRO-LIQUID. So we're as anxious as the cooperator is and as a lot of our customers are to see how it turns out.
Well, and kudos go out to you and all of your representatives that you work with for providing all the information and doing the research that helps the farmers out from year to year and really helps improve their profitability on an ongoing basis there. As producers get ready for the winter, do any of the folks out there come in behind the crop right now and maybe double crop some wheat in there yet or not?
Oh, yes. Wheat, generally in our community, we like to have wheat put in by this point. Now, obviously, $4 wheat kind of tones the excitement down a little bit. But in the East, we do have a pretty good straw market with construction jobs, et cetera, pretty good demand for straw in that aspect. But yes, wheat is, we had a little, we thought we were done selling wheat. The old rule of thumb is Thanksgiving is about the time to wrap it up. And there was a whole lot of wheat put in here at the last minute last week. And Marlin, even some that was put in the 1st of November, we're not seeing much of it yet because what do I tell you every Tuesday morning? Weather's been perfect for harvest. Well, that means it might not be the best for growing the next crop, but it'll catch up, and we'll get a chance to evaluate it in the spring to see whether there's enough stand to take on the harvest, put fertilizer on and take on the harvest.
Wow, thanks for providing that interesting perspective on the growing straw market there. That's unusual to hear that. I hadn't even given that a thought with the big metropolis areas there nearby. That's excellent information. Ben, as always, great stuff. Thanks for sharing with our audience nationwide. Appreciate that, and I'll talk with you again next week. Ben Hushon of The Mill in Whitehall, Maryland. We'll come back in just a moment, and I'll examine all of our futures trade for you, grain and livestock, when we come back. And again, my thanks to Ben Hushon. Man, that was a great report from Whitehall, Maryland. Thanks for sharing all that information, Ben. All right, let's take a look at our futures trade. And I do want to include the dollar index and the crude oil trade, too. That has garnered a lot of headlines here recently. Let's take a look at where it now stands. On the dollar value first, December futures are now 250 points higher at 93.080. Remember, that had been selling off. It had been well over 95 and went down into the 92s. Now it has cleared 93 once again, so it's firming up again here today. Keep an eye on that. And looking at our crude oil trade, West Texas Intermediate crude, January now down 8 cents. We're at 58.03 per barrel. We had got as low as 57.42 per barrel earlier this morning, and firming up now near the high of the day, so getting close to unchanged once again. Let's go ahead and take a look at our grain markets here. We'll start with the corn market first. Right now, a little pressure here. December corn down 1.5 cents at 337 1/4, even though there was a published report that China apparently recently had agreed to purchase 10 or 12 boatloads of U.S. corn, well, at least corn anyway, maybe not totally originated from here, but over a 3-month period between February and April. And the market kind of shrugging that news off. There were no overnight export sales reported. I'll point that out too. December corn down 1.5 pennies, 337 1/4. The March down 1.5 at 350 1/4. Don't forget, December goes into delivery mode here. First notice day coming up day after tomorrow. Soybean trade, let's switch over there. January soybeans now 5.5 lower today at 9.90 1/2. They had cleared $10 just in the last day or so and touched above it a little bit momentarily, and now they have broken back quite significantly. The March contract down 5 3/4 at 10.02 per bushel right now. Looks like July down 5.5 at 10.20. On the wheat trade, let's go over to Chicago wheat, where we have December now trading a 1/2 cent lower at 4.09. It had been down to 4.08 for its low point this morning. And we have the July contract 1.25 pennies lower at 4.54 1/4 right now. On the Kansas City market, where a lot of concern about the dry conditions in the hard red winter wheat belt, the market basically about flat right now. We have December down 1/4 cent, March down 1/2, and we have July down 1/4 at 4.56 1/4. Let's move on to the Minneapolis wheat trade. Spring wheat, we have the March down 4 at 6.23 per bushel. Fairly significant loss right there. Only one tick from its low of the day. Now July down 3 3/4. Cotton market today. On the December contract, which is in delivery, we're 20 higher. The March is our lead trading month, and that's 15 points higher at 71.57 per pound. And looking at the live cattle board, on the livestock, we have the February live cattle down 80 at 125.25 per hundredweight. Only one tick from its low of the day now. On the feeder cattle side, let's take a look over there. We have the March down 57 at 151.98, and on the lean hog trade, right now you currently have that February contract 52 higher at 70.62. That's one tick, Christina, from its high of the day.
There
you go.
We'll see what happens. Thank you, Markets Editor Marlin Bohling.